Yeah, if I said what I really was, I'm a retired, 26 years. Loved the military, went to West Point. Had a long history there, family military, moving all around, lived in 48 states, we practiced 48 houses, 8 states, 4 countries, loved it all. I mean, I had a great 26 years, and a lot of fun. Been married twice. First time 20 years, second time, we're 12 years now. Love it. I don't plan on changing up anytime again. If I said what it was, it's really the Army side of things, which is in the defense establishment. But at some point, you have to move on, and so I moved on, and then did a number of things that he just mentioned. The last one where I would say, quote, retired, because how long did I think about these things before I retired? Kind of awkward. But in the end, SC Economics, we teach teachers to teach people economics and personal finance. You may not know this, but most coaches are you guys. It's a funny quirk in the process of education. You can actually, you want to go serve to be a coach, to be the soccer coach, you have to have a teaching degree. And in many cases, they have something, like science or whatever it is. And so you can go into econ. And of course, how do you go about doing that? I think it's, you have to learn a little bit about it. Everyone feel comfortable. And in fact, that's what we try to do, that everybody feels comfortable. I have learned to like economics. Didn't know anything about it until, about 12 years ago. I mean, I guess I did stuff about it, but I think I got to see it. But I've come to really appreciate it simply because it really is the driving, with the cause effect of why we do so many things we do. If you understand it, when you get a little better appreciation for why things matter as you progress through life. I will say that you guys don't know where you're going to be. I'm sure you might be able to look this far out, but it's really, really hard to know where you're going to be. And hopefully you can feel comfortable in that ambiguity. There's intelligence and knowledge, and then there's experience and wisdom. They say that knowing that a tomato is fruit is knowledge. Knowing not to put it into a fruit salad is wisdom. Okay, so you've just got all these things that are going to come feed your brain, but you don't know where you're going to be. I was a civil engineer at the West Point. I was a civil engineer. Got my EIT engineering training before I left West Point, and never touched engineering. Okay, that's just the path off the way. 20 years later, the Army sent me back to the University of South Carolina to get a master's degree in education. Okay, simply because I was going back to West Point feeling staff as faculty. So you don't know where these things are going with you either. Now, and even if you've got a profession like a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, you don't know where you're going. I mean, I got plenty of friends who are all of those, and their paths have been very unusual. You get the whole, how much does being smart matter versus drive? And I will tell you, in my experience, I will take drive over smart any day. Okay, because don't get me wrong, I like people being smart and you can prove it and all that kind of stuff. But somebody who is teachable and wants to learn and shows they want to do it, it's just easier for me to look on my path. It's easier for me to look that kind of an individual.
It's corrupted. So give me a second. It's corrupted, so I got to find it. Another version.
You mean of the thing we talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that could come.
That's fine.
So, along, on that line, what mentors? Mentors are, that's someone who's in the top 1% of the intelligence. They can measure the being good, right? Okay, that's the intelligence. But by being a Mensa, being the smartest guy in the world, the smartest kid in the world, does that guarantee you're gonna do real well? No, well, you know, there's been studies that have shown that by and large, by the time you have a full career, and you started out as a particularly bright person, you don't have any more money. You're just average when you have your money, and that's because of your spending habits and your savings habits and all those things. It doesn't mean you use that brilliance, to save money. Those are different things. As a matter of fact, I'm just, even me being here in my last 11 or 12 years working with, teachers and the education community, I'm convinced that nothing I say in this room is really gonna help you save money. So good luck. Okay, that's just somewhere you're gonna figure this out or you're not. Okay? It's pretty, and it's funny how many people have told me, I wish I had this. I mean, adults, like, they really say, if you had learned that when you were younger. No, how much does it take to know you should not spend more than you make? I mean, do you need a master's degree in that? I don't think. So I hope you all figure out and learn to save. So you got three different things I call my life. That kind of three pots. Actually four. One is debt. That's not saving. That's spending. Then there's the emergency fund. Okay, everybody in this room has probably already needed an emergency. It sort of depends on what you do. Flat tire, whatever. Right now, you're turning to your parents or some other thing. Okay, but you're going to need an emergency fund. To dip into. An emergency fund should not be. You're going down to Fort Lauderdale. To link up with your budget. That should be your sort of short-term fund. Or you save ahead for it. But beyond your emergency fund, how much is you need? How much risk is that? We've always got. Then you have your sort of midterm savings, and that's the thing that you want to get your money in that because you don't know what that's going to go to. Some of that may move over into your long-term savings. Don't touch it all. Okay. The only thing you ever want to touch your long-term savings might be education, but really it's for something that is going to increase your value, like. Well, because what you really want to do is have that long-term savings that has grown over time, and then you have money. Okay, and oh, by the way, compounding it will pick it up, will skyrocket it over the course of your life, over the course of 30 and 40 years. You also love to have, so that's your four things, your debt piece, you get rid of it every time you can, as fast as you can. Now, some debt is your student loans, or, like, you gotta deal with those. A house payment is a long-term thing, so you're probably gonna have to deal with it. I would recommend that at some point in time, you get out somewhere. Although I think that's what I could get a house.
I got it.
You got it? Okay, good. All right. We'll talk about this in a second. What this basically will show, it's what happens if you save money starting, in 5 years. Yet you don't save money in a growth. We'll talk about that towards the very end. So, where my own notes were. So from a career perspective, who's you guys are all heading off to someplace, right? You've just gotten a degree in something. Are you all in, is this computer science?
All computers, IT, yeah.
IT is a pretty reasonable thing to be in today's world, because it changes pretty fast. But I have four children. two from my first marriage and two that are my steps. And my first one went to Basic Flora and then Furman, and he went in business and he worked for Swift banking technology company. And then they moved into Hong Kong. And so he was in Hong Kong and he decided he's an entrepreneur. Mentally, he wants, so he was making lots and lots of money, doing very, very well. And he decided to shift and be an entrepreneur. He needed to go to zero. Okay. But he noticed especially in Hong Kong, how there were a lot of people who did yoga and there was a lot of men who did rugby players. But there's no men's stuff, that but we want men's, yoga shorts, pants, whatever it is, stuff. And so he built that company and it did okay, but it couldn't scale it. Because it was purely an online company and they developed everything themselves, but he just had a real hard time. And then the Chinese thing, dealt the flow to Hong Kong. So he, they now live in the Upper West Side. He shifted over and now works for Visa. And they hired him mostly because of his entrepreneurial background. They wanted to start a Visa Direct, which is a cross-border operations kind of a thing. And so they wanted somebody who was not afraid of being entrepreneurial, think outside the box, and that kind of stuff. So he's now doing fine with with Visa. Yeah, Visa. And then I got another one. The second son is he dropped out of AC Flora. Looked always a little scared to a parent. And he was from our band, we booked from tavern, whatever. But he was all a real computer kind of guy. And so he used to play the drums for a while in the garage out back, and then would, do computer stuff. So that kind of took him on. He worked for a couple of companies. And what he didn't get hired because of his degree. He got hired because he could go in and show people stuff, and you're talking to the techies in your computer field, when you know what they're talking about, and you can speak intelligently about something, that's what gets there. Matter of fact, when he got hired, he was 18, actually 17. For one of his jobs, his first big one. The tech guys loved it because he was, unfortunately, you get white hat, gray hat, black hat, so he was a gray hat kind of guy. But he could break into a school computer system and show how it looked. Medical detective, I could see it, right? Which didn't, kind of made people a little afraid, of him. But he was always really good. But so he was able to show the people in the back office that this is the guy we want. Well, HR says, I have a degree. High school degree. What are you talking about? Well, let's get your difference between your HR people and your operators, And so, in fact, I hired him. He kicked butt. Did very, very well. Then moved to another company because he was a learner. He was done learning and everything he could. He got bored, so he would, want to do the next step. So he did that a couple of times, and then he started his own company. So he is the founder of a company called Brainwave, and has already So unfortunately, as with all of us. You kind of have to build yourself. One thing I say about my life and people around me and recommend you knowing yourself is really because everybody else sees you a certain way. But if you can't recognize your strengths and weaknesses, if you are not capable of recognizing them, you'll never be able to deal with them. And then, you'll just be finger pointing to other people who are, by the way, finger pointing to you. So knowing yourself is real important. I remember reading something about 60% of people probably have a mental disorder. I thought that was great. But over the course of my life, people, adults, have some sort of a mental diversion. Right? I mean, we can't do anything. I think one of mine was, I think I had ADHD. Okay, so that's just not that unpopular. I mean, there's a lot of it out there. And whether it was, ADD or ADHD, the bottom line is it could have gotten me in a lot of trouble, except that because I went to West Point Military Army, I had a lot of structure. So I didn't get a chance to do some of the crazy stuff. And my son, I believe, is the one that bring on doing that. I'm quite certain he has sort of inherited that piece. So as soon as he stepped back from being the CEO of his company, certainly if you're not gonna, you've got to let go of it, for the company to be bought for lots of money, because otherwise you get tied to the company, and they say, well, we want the company, but we want you to. So he stepped back, so that gave him way too much time and way too much money. And he's been diagnosed with ADHD. Well, so he smoked too much, all kinds of stuff, drank too much, just did a lot of the wrong things. I mean, things that just weren't helping. Didn't have a good partner or anything like that. That's one, I'll say all of them. But in the end, he checked himself into the rehab. Which worked out pretty well for him. And so he was able to kind of clean himself up. When you know yourself to make an effort and you are able to do that before things unwind to the point where other people are telling you need to check into rehab, or you got 6 DUIs or whatever it is, then you're already operating way behind. And this affects everything about your life, your relationships, your life. It's all a function of, if you know that you've got certain proclivities, well then just be aware of that, and do what you can to read up on it, and do what you can to to deal with it. Same kind of thing whoever your partner might be. Anyway, so life will take you in funny directions, but knowing yourself is certainly very helpful. You all are in a very tech field, which is kind of cool. It will give you a lot of opportunities. It's that does not by any means mean that this is where you're going to be. I think AI, and everybody, you guys are all, I'm sure, quite familiar with AI. I just absolutely love it. I mean, to me, the second I saw it, it was like, this is cool. Now I know there's problems and trouble and all that kind of stuff, but on your way to learning stuff, I'm always amazed at how many people don't use AI to answer the question. I mean, we're all in school learning stuff. But if there's a little piece of stuff you don't know much about, come on. Google, I mean, you can either Google it, you can text, you can see it, and whatever you want to do. But, and I know it's not always okay. Well, get over that, because yes, by and large, the art of learning is probably going to be okay. Now, if you're in a dealing with political thing or something, kind of we have, yeah, sure. It's not always that same. But I believe you can learn so much. And then you become sort of the expert because you looked it up and you have more to talk about. It gets me to the issue of critical thinking. How many times do you see critical thinking out there? It's something we want critical thinkers. As a matter of fact, in the educational field, it's all about teaching critical thinking, right? We want to know, the left and the right and this and that and the other. How many people are critical thinkers out there in the world? I mean, look at politics. I mean, half of us are on one side, and almost half of us are on the other side. And we just can't seem to figure out why the other people are who or why they are. It's just, what is that? Is that genetic? Is it whatever it is? It's out there. The numbers will show you, you're only 5% off of the other side. So that's where you try to get into the critical thinking piece. Is why do you think that way? Why do you believe that? And it's amazing how you'll slowly start to accept people of different cultures, different thought processes and all of them. You're a little less likely, if you're like me, because I'm an actor, you're a little less likely to get in a big argument without at least having some understanding and being respected for having commented a little about, I see why, blah, 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 blah. So, and that will impact your, all of your job activity because people see you a certain way. If you know yourself, you kind of know what your things are, that's helpful. If you try to recognize what the term critical thinking is really supposed to be about, then that's very helpful. You certainly want to be a lifelong learner, and all the AI certainly make that easy. So does the, I'm a people person. So I'm a big, what is the learning where you're you're with people. Anyway, so there's a lot of ways to learn and you have to figure out. So, what we've got up here is, because I haven't seen it in a while, but you've got basically, 5 different people,
Yeah.
obviously, jumping jack, he's ready to jump in, it's not fast, but he wants to save money. Procrastinating Gil waits for a long time. Whatever, wants to wait a long time. Dependable Brian is, puts the same thing away all the time. Dumb Dave doesn't do anything. Just spends everything he's got. And then there's Safe Sarah who puts all of their things into something, but not something that grows or compounds. So you throw it into a savings account, like I'm going to think. So, but to grow something, and I will tell you, I didn't really gave me a ton of money, but I've been doing this my whole life. I didn't really figure it out until I was probably close to 30. And then I mildly sort of realized some things around that you had to save. And I put it in, I had an account that basically was spread the risk. And so, then I got really active as I got a little bit older, and I started playing with things like Robinhood, because it's you get to make the decision. And I got to tell you, they say that most financial planners can't beat the S&P, the Standard & Poor's stock thing. So when you play with Robinhood, you get to be the financial. Okay, that's you against the world. So it's been kind of fun. And then you can go into all these other things. Says it's going to grow. And then we can compare it to other something. But I kind of like that because there's just so much you don't know what you want to do. You want to be a growth fund, an income fund, a stock, a bond, dividends, all these different questions, and you get to learn as you go, and you talk to people. That's one of the keys is thinking about critical thinking and you want to get to all. So, I hope you get involved. So did you want to pick up that piece on this?
So, yeah, and we've talked about this before, guys. So, I don't know if you guys remember the answer, but these are the totals down here at the bottom of how much they put in over their lifetime, say for 43 years before they retired. So out of that, you can see that Brian and Sarah put in the most money, but of course, you guys answered correctly last time. Who made the most money? Brian, but who made the second most money? Do you guys know? Was it Jill, Jack, or Sarah? Because Dave didn't put any money in. So who made the second most money? Okay. See that this is the part that was corrupted, I think, but hang on a second. Here we go. So what happens is at the very bottom, that's how much they put in, but this is how much they made. Okay. So of course, Brian made the most, but actually Jumpin' Jack made more, and he only put in money for 10 years because he invested early, and the way compound interest works, it continues to accrue and make money over the years. And so even though he only put money in for 10 years, Jill put in for 30 years, but she waited 10 years. And so her money never caught up. So if you don't do it now when you're young, you're going to actually lose money because it's hard to catch up. And then Safe Sarah, if you just keep it in a savings account, she only made a few extra dollars because she didn't actually compound it with high interest rates. So, start early, continue to contribute throughout your entire career till you retire, and then you can pull at least $1 million out. Okay. But that's it, gaining 8% interest every year and they put in only $3,600. Yeah, $3,600 a year. So how much is that per paycheck? It's not that much. Okay. So that's what we're just trying to say.
Basically, it gets into saving, and you can put, your emergency money needs to be put. A flat tire got to be taken. So don't worry about, I get the draw, it's 3.2% versus, 4.1%. Okay, it's access and it's immediacy and to solve the problem. Okay. So let me go back again to the, you had to get yourself a desk. And then you have your emergency fund, and then you have your short-term fund, and then you have your long-term savings. Social Security. How many of you think Social Security will not be here when you are my age?
We discussed this too.
That's typical. Okay, that's very typical. I just turned 70 last year. So I just started. I will earn my first Social Security check next month. When you can draw it at 62 years old. But if you wait, then you get, I get twice the amount, 2.5 times the amount of money every month because I wait. Okay, and when you're saying, I mean. Which you don't necessarily know of the time I get you travel and drugs. Well, okay, that's a good goal, that's fine, but I would recommend you enjoy what you're doing and still make money. Because there's nothing wrong with working if you like what you're doing. The only reason I worked for the last 12 years is I liked what I was doing. It was a whole lot of fun. I didn't need the money there. If I surely wanted the money, I would have gone off and been a contractor and all that stuff. But I really liked it. I liked the people. I liked the mission. I was paid a respectable amount of money. I'd already paid. So it was fun for me. So some people say, so now for the idea that is Social Security going to be here? Okay, you're not going to believe, but I can assure you that it will be. Okay. It's not whether it will be. Is it going to be in the same form? And is it going to be as much? Social Security was started in the 30s, and it when everybody died by 50, or 55. So that and really, so what they based it on was, look, we'll start it at 62. And at 62. They die. Okay, so you got a small group of people who make it past 62. So when you're drawing money, you paid into it a long time, but you're almost dead. So it's kind of that's what the bank on. Now what's happened? We're all living longer, a whole lot longer. Okay, so but we're not putting in a whole lot more. So you have to sort of something's got to work. So this issue of all the old people like me saying, "Oh, you can't stop Social Security," all that stuff. Well, wait a minute, we've got to make it viable. I mean, it's got to survive in some form. What's going to happen in, I think it's 2033, whatever, about 8 years, 10 years. Social Security is going to kind of go belly up. It's not really going belly up. It's going to, you're not going to have an excess of money. You'll still have the money coming in, but you'll have the money going out. So And then, but at that point, that doesn't mean Social Security goes away. There's a clause that already says you're gonna get about a 20% cut in Social Security. Automatically in 8 years. Well, think about politicians. Both parties, all parties. Have said, oh, don't worry, we're not gonna touch Social Security. We're not gonna touch, why? We say that because I want your vote. And I want your vote, and I want your vote. So don't worry, we're not gonna do it. That's why our country is almost, irresponsibly in debt, 34 trillion in the hole. You can't do much when you're paying the interest rate on your debt more than you have, You can't shift things to the military. You can't shift it if you didn't make the money for five reason. So there's gonna be this natural thing. And I hate to say politics, but lying through the teeth, they're just lying through their teeth because they don't want to lose back. They've got to figure out how to get us where we're not increasing our national debt as fast. You just can't do it. One of the ways will be down the road when the Social Security gets the big cut. Because they'll all whine about it, and then all of a sudden, it'll have a big drop, and that'll be significant. The other thing, obviously, it's already being done, and that is you wait longer. Okay, my Social Security, and there's a couple of things. When you're 62, you can, right now, you can draw Social Security if you want, but if you make money on the side, you have to give back about $2 of every dollar that they give you in Social Security. Now, what good is that? Were you ready at 62? Are you ready to stop making any money? Well, if we made a bazillion dollars, maybe you are done. Okay, you don't need to earn any more money. But at 62, that's a false sense of security. Okay, so people are kind of figuring that out. But then there's this: what is your retirement? What do we call it? It's what's your retirement date? Effective retirement date, and that is based on a longevity model that says more than likely that's when most of it's going back. So for me, it was 66 in 7 months. Right now, it's probably 68 in 2 months. So the people just coming into the system. So we're moving the retirement date by age that you can draw it with the same set of conditions. And that's all we have to do. To keep Social Security, we just keep getting way longer than before you can draw it. We give you less, or we raise the amount of money that comes out of your paycheck that's given to Social Security. If you're in a wage job, if you're a contractor, but if you get a wage job, like Tony or me or whatever, they take out a certain amount of Social Security. If you just jack that up just a little bit, but that's what you got. But we can do that if we want to save Social Security. So it's going to be here. You're going to have Social Security. You can't just stop Social Security and expect this country to just go, it ain't that. Okay, so it'll be there. Of course, you're going to say, but I truly believe, everybody that studied it all would say it's going to be there. It's just going to be a bit. So, and Social Security was only considered to be one of 3 parts of the stool when they created it. They created a stool, and the stool was, you're going to get Social Security. That keeps you from being in, poverty. Okay, so you're barely making enough to do. Okay, with Social Security. Then there's the other part. It was your pension. Well, how many of y'all have a parent that's got a pension? Okay, a couple. I have a pension because I was in the Army before. So I have a pension that would go for a long time a lot. Okay. And then you have the third student is savings. Now the pension has generally been replaced with the 401k. Because that's what your company then said, no, we're not gonna get pension, so we lose a lot of control. We're gonna give you money along the way, and it's tax deferred and all that kind of stuff. And so that's your, quote, pension, your 401k. And then you have your savings, okay? And the savings involve a number of things, you know, with all this stuff we said was gonna be at the end. You know, you might have a house, too, by the way. The ideal is part of your savings is you have paid off your house, which takes 20 to 30 years of owning that house. Okay, most of us don't live in the same house for 30 years, but if you move from one house to the next house, and put the earnings, particularly equity that you got from that house down into the new house, and you keep it building, you can still own your house. Think of how much you would save if you didn't have to pay rent or didn't have to pay a mortgage on your house. You could live on less, a whole lot less. So that's what that's why we encourage, I certainly encourage people to, when you can, you know, try to begin buying a house, all house, and then start paying it off if you move away, and rent, or buy it up, or sell it, you do another way to put the money into it, et cetera. But that ownership of a house is a pretty big deal. And then the rest of things go in a whole bunch of. Which, by the way, it's, you know, so if I just, and I can, you know, how you do it, if I do, a lot of it, you know, mine has, you know, we've been a rising year, but I've gotten, 35% increase just based on no new money, just based on the fact that the stock market has been growing. What's the average for stocks, over time, over the last couple of hundred years? What is it?
8%.
8 to 10%. That's all the ups and downs over all the time. You make pretty much. Leave that after that. Yeah. So at any rate, yes, our stock market's gonna go down. I need my wife to that. You know, it's been on this hair for a long time, but it's a general rule. And we've been on this long thing. Generally, you have either a 10% or a 20% correction. They're usually short-lived, and then we get back on the thing. Things don't, I mean, that rise, it doesn't go like this. It goes like that temporarily. But if you look at 100, 150 years, you know, you're always. So, are there any questions about what I, you know, about slung out there at it? So, please don't spend money to have it. Yeah.
You don't have a question also. I saw that you were an investor.
Oh, Shannon, well, that was my wife and I both kind of like real estate. And so we've got, we started, we were very fortunate. We're still doing buy and sell too, but we bought a number of houses when the interest rates were low. Gosh, it was 3 and 4%, you know. So we invested some of our investment money in the stock market and all that. So we put it into housing. I have a few rules about, I have a golf cart. I like to be within a golf cart line of the property company. Why? Because I manage, and we manage them under an LLC called Camden Brown. That an LLC will protect you from if somebody sues you for something happened. They can only sue you within the realm of that LLC. You can't sue you if other correct. I did. I absolutely did. And we have but they're all right here. As a general rule, we do not, you know, you get into risk. Okay. I have run into a little bit of everybody, but I have found there's a higher risk and there's a higher risk of rent. Right? So we just generally they're too easy to rent. If we are rents and roofs, we always do when we try to fix them up on a very incentive side. They all know they're like family. So when I rent something for somebody, and they say something doesn't work, and I need there the next day, it went off. Okay, so and so mostly I have young professionals. You know, it's that market they graduated with that we're talking about, and so I'll be glad to tell anybody more about that if you're. I've got my card up here if you want to look at.
Would you rather say that later or?
No, go ahead.
Can you talk more about the money that we're saving self-managing it versus like output and like property or company?
Yeah, I mean. Everything sort of depends on where you are in life and how much you've managed to save. And, I have learned to live within my means, which is lower than what I make. Okay, so I've always had things going, I'm pretty conservative. So for instance, the housing, I don't take that as income. I use that as a general to fix up the house and make it there. And then I jack up the rent. Okay, thank you, sorry, now, I don't generally jack up the rent when they've been in, I've got nice people in there. She works at Geo's and, I don't want to jack up on her, she's, sort of doing dishes and all that, but the taxes are all going up and the cost of living is all going up. And insurance is going up and all this, so it's like, look, I have every right to raise taxes, but I'm a pretty decent guy, so what I'll usually do is go with them for a certain period of time and then they'll be with me for a couple of years, and then I'll either sort of say, hey, I've got to do this and I'll show you why, or they move on, and they do something else, and then I jack up the next one. Yeah, so you've got it, in my mind, I can't stand personally, I can't stand property management, as a general rule, because they're doing it for an owner who's probably moved out of state. So the owner doesn't care, the property manager doesn't really care, and so you get a yard that's trashed, which doesn't help the neighbor. And the people are just in it for a short period of time, like, that's a thing, keep going. That's two questions. Yeah, first, can you say that the money is more important than the property? And not that the question of money does that. No, I've not done section eight, but there are people, and I've got family members that done that. It's the person, well, that's a mixed bag, if you've got a good relationship with people, and you're careful about who you hire. I mean, I mean, I'd like to people out of the contract. I only person thinking about it. The first thing, I'll let it out. I've never had to get rid of anybody. I have had one. That was 155. I had one who I didn't work with again. But like, I wasn't. An option. And, I mean, obviously the people matter the most, but I'm not going to be taking advantage of that. I'm going to make sure that it's really clear that I went as far as I could go. And what is happening now is under, again, I've had 250 that even. One of them out of state, one of the rent place, I'm hesitant to do it. Why would I do that? But she came down, had to see it, then she looks at it, and it had a lot of trees on it. I thought she didn't want it. So like, kept it, like, find out, gave her the cost back. And that's my own stupid mistake, having somebody rent my house.
Well, thank you, Jim.